Hello, good morning. Welcome back to the channel. My name's Ern. I'm a buyer, seller, trader, and collector, and vendor and grader. Vendor. Welcome back. Happy Tuesday. Hope you all had a good weekend. Apologies for the lack of uploads. I mean, it's only been like 5 days, right? Sometimes you just get busy and you don't want to think about cards, or you don't want to make content, or you don't want to, you know, really occupying yourself is not the worst thing. First things first, if you are this person on screen, sound effect, I you have won the Destin Rivals Booster Bundle giveaway. I will also pin your username down below in the description. So congrats to you. Just real quick, if you are from Europe or from Asia, I had covered the cost before for shipping because I'm a nice guy, seemingly a nice guy. But if you are from those regions, then I will ask you to cover the price of shipping, because it's like 20, 30, 35 bucks typically. But if you're in the US, I will cover the shipping. And so congrats to you. Thank you for the support. And we'll do another, I guess kids call these days a givey. Do another givey eventually, probably in the next week or so. So thank you for that. Hope you enjoy and hope you rip something great. Let's talk about today's video. We are in an interesting time, to say the least, where market's hot, people are more sensitive than Gen Z. That's a joke. Everyone's just so on high alert of like all-time highs and prices and new set releases, and the smallest of things can have the biggest of reaction from people. And I think a lot of this really comes down to, how many people are in the hobby who are leveraged, are inexperienced, are, trying to make some money with a little bit of money. And I understand, like, it's a tough position to be in. I'm not going to pretend that I have not been there before, or at times have not been in there myself. And let's take a mental recap of what happened. Thursday night, Friday morning, I think Bitcoin retraced like 10%, 8% or something like that. And if you didn't know, crypto feeds a lot of this market. And as such, there's a chain reaction to people in Pokemon, people thinking that market price is going to crash. You watch a video or two of Rudy, you watch a video or two from your favorite PokeTuber. And like, typically I don't, so the main reason why I didn't make content over the weekend or make a video is because, like, I don't know what I have to say about this topic, because most people don't know what they're talking about. And most people are just reacting based off another video they made. And so, like, I'm not sure what I could have commented on that would have helped aid the situation, because it kind of felt like everyone just made up their mind that because, market price was taking a hit, because everything seems to be going sideways, blah, 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 blah. People thought that, we're kind of doomed. And, that's why I just don't like to participate in that, because I don't know what I could lend to the conversation. I also don't, for some people it's kind of too late. They believe what they want to believe, and they're off the deep end, and then from there they made up their mind. But like, it is refreshing to be able to just like not tune in or subscribe to any of that information, because like when I heard that on Friday, honestly, like in my head I just kind of rolled my eyes. I was like, what's the point? Nothing really that I bought is going to be that impacted, right? Most of the Pokemon that I hold is from, yesteryear, years ago. It's, slabs that I believe in, things I don't intend to sell right away. If anything, the things that may have been hit are kind of the short-term singles, and not very much sealed, but singles that I plan to flip and grade and that kind of thing. But everything else seemed to be okay. And I think, like, the important thing to understand is like this is not going to be the first time that this reaction happens in our hobby. It's going to happen again and again and again, and people are going to freak out. And the ones who definitely are the most sensitive are typically the ones who, dare I say it, probably shouldn't be playing too much with this type of hobby, asset, collectible. They shouldn't, it's like the same thing applies to people who buy crypto or buy stocks or people who try to invest into assets or anything really, who don't really have the means to, or they're leveraged, or they are, trying to do this to hopefully score like a home run or a Hail Mary to like multiply their net worth. Like part of all of this, and then again, the reason why I think collectors always win is building the discipline and being able to understand that, the things that you buy in the hobby, if you enjoy them, that's at least your backstop, right? Things go haywire and your booster boxes crash, but you bought a booster box because you really wanted it and because you really, really believed in it, then, you're not in too bad of shape, because at the end of the day, you're at least going to have something that you like, right? So that might not seem like it's worth, the same thing value wise or price wise, but you'd be surprised at, how long you'll stick to something when you actually believe in it, when you actually want it, when you actually like desire it. But if you're buying these things just purely for the financial gain, you're not going to learn the discipline. That's probably my main takeaway. And people who come in the hobby specifically only to make money, they are definitely the first ones to go when things go haywire, because they will go and find something else. And so I implore you, if you care about the longevity of the hobby, this is where kind of the topic of this video comes into play. I'd be very mindful of how you spend your time in the hobby, because who you surround yourself with, the content you consume, the communities you engage with, whether or not you believe it or not, right? Like a lot of the time that'll feed into your end behavior and and influence your end decision making. And I think for many people, this is probably their first go around at like some type of financial initiative, some type of asset for them to make money. And so there's a heightened sense of like sensitivity around, you control your own destiny, you're buying these things, you're hoping for the money to come in. At the same time, you're checking, the market prices every day, all the time, to make sure you're not losing out on any gains. At the same time, you probably haven't realized any gains, so you're kind of like only looking at paper gains at the end of the day. And I made the video on collectors always win and always get paid. It sounds cliche, but it is the best way to. It's a mindset shift. If you're constantly buying the things that you really like, and you have a good eye on not buying, common cards or uncommon cards or damaged goods, and you're buying things that have some level of value, but it's not the determining factor as to why you're buying it, then at the end of the day, you're always going to win. You're always going to be in a good spot. And one of the goals I have a new collection goal. Happy to share it. I'm going to collect every single one of the Nidoran, male and female. That's Nidoqueen, Nidoking, Nidorina, Nidorino. Every single one of those cards, starting with Nidoqueen and Nidoking. Why? Because the Team Rocket's Nidoking from Destined Rivals is a phenomenal card. I keep looking at it and looking at it and looking at it. I sent one out to grading, and I decided, you know what? I'm a Gen 1er. I like this card. I like this series of Pokemon. I like I like how they're undervalued. No, underrepresented. I like how they're very the species is iconic. Mother families, female side, male side, very clean. And throughout the years, right, they have had, dude, this red light thing is like blinking, but there's like no cars going. It's like a red light camera. Um, I just like the idea that like, oh yeah, this is something that I actually want to do. And obviously the biggest obstacle is going to be Crystal Nidoking in English and Japanese, which is not a cheap card. Not It's not the hardest to get, but it's not a cheap card. But I can imagine like, oh, that's going to be cool one day to have that binder to flip through, to share it with people, to have this collection goal, and to go after. And like, truthfully though, this is not going to be an investment because none of these cards are going to be worth, probably going to be worth anything one day. They're going to be the same, if not stagnant, same if not less. And so, I think finding enjoyment, creating that sense of like accomplishment, creating that goal, creating that thing that you really want to go after because you actually give a damn about the IP. And core investors, oh yeah, like you do that, that's how you waste money. That's how, that's, you're not making the most money that way, or like, your game's not gonna be as good. Yeah, you're right. But what I'm actually investing in, right, is occupying myself and enjoyment. And that is, ooh, is this a bar? That is actually how you invest in the hobby. It's not go buy this booster box, MSRP, get as much as you can, hoard it, pay attention to the drops. Like, I'll be honest, that is like entry level behavior that eventually will lead to people only looking at their stashes as things they want to eventually sell. I'm not saying don't do it, but I am saying that's one of many things that I think if there was a playbook for how to best enjoy the hobby, how to best invest, my recommendation would be that's one part of it, that there's a part of it of making collection goals, completing collections. There's a part of it of buying the Pokemon that you really like. There's a part of it of buying the seal that you like, regardless of what its price is today. And so, like, I think the moral of the story of all of this is how do you best occupy yourself so that when people start talking about this crash or this impending, retrace, or, everything's going to slow down, like, how do you make it so that none of that affects you? It's kind of an open-ended question and topic. But if you're new, you're not thinking about these things, right? You're thinking about your reaction to, oh my God, I just heard, Distant Rivals is no longer going up. Like, what do I do now? And it is a skill, I would say. It's something that is learned. It's not something that can necessarily be figured out from the get-go. I think you go through cycles, you go through, different scenarios of getting beat up, making wrong decisions, realizing that you're kind of tired of the same rigmarole, same thing that keeps coming up. And I don't know how much I lost, air quotes, on Collector or my whatever app of my Pokemon net worth because since Friday. I have no idea, nor do I care, because I don't it inherently is just a normal thing that happens in the hobby. We go up, we go down. When we go up, we sell off some stuff. When we go down, hopefully we're liquid to buy more stuff. And it's just like the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over again, to the point where it doesn't really matter like what happens, because at the end of the day, like, sorry, I gotta turn across. There's a policeman to my left, and I'm gonna pretend I'm not looking at the phone, because I'm not. And I'm gonna drive very peacefully with two hands on the wheel, like a good model citizen who's recording himself in a car talking about Pokemon. Anyway, you have to fortify yourself and create that Metapod style hardened shell. You like that? where these things just don't, it's just like, and I'm not saying you are better or worse for not being able to do this, but I'm saying like this is something that is normal. The idea of like FOMO, of crashes, of I'm gonna miss out, if I need to buy this now. Like it's all the same bucket of behaviors and things that we see all the time in the hobby. It's not new, right? And so when you log onto YouTube, you see these people making these videos, there's a crash coming, you know, oh my gosh, like what am I supposed to do? Like you kind of just look at it honestly as nonsense. It's a nuisance. It's a normal part of what people expect in the hobby. You know, it's just not. It's not a. You just brush it off. You brush it off, and you just assume that it is. It happens with different cycles of the hobby. When crypto does well, when new sets come out, when new sets get overprinted. You know, I am reminded a lot at the YouTube sentiment around Journey Together. Hopefully you've been around since Journey Together. But if you weren't, straight off the coattails of Prismatic Evolutions, right? Prismatic was a great set, regardless of the pull rates, irrespective of the pull rates, I mean. And the cards are in Prismatic and Terrasta Festival are phenomenal, right? They're like they're S tier, right? They're S tier. Not you, the guy who's going to comment down below. No, it's not. It's S tier, okay? The arts and the cards look S tier. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying the pull rates are good. I'm not saying anything else. The arts are S tier. There was a lot of hype going out of Prismatic. If you recall, there's a supply drought. People weren't getting product. There was a point in like February or March where people couldn't get any product, right? And then comes Journey Together, which also had a lot of hype. And it's not like we didn't know what the set list was. We saw it in Battle Partners in Japanese. But I think people had this elevated expectation because they expected the cards to be more valuable than they were. And that's probably because in Terrastal or Prismatic, the pull rates are terrible. Journey comes together. Journey comes out that weekend. And I remember because I sold all of my Journey to some Bay Area friends who needed, product for their businesses and shows. And I decided, that was the first set where I decided like, I'll just keep the PC ETBs. The booster boxes I'll just buy again later because I was making a decent profit. I remember after that first weekend, information starts coming in, the pull rates are really good. That's the first thing that I heard post Journey Together. Launch weekend and then thereafter. The pull rates were good. Oh my God, they fixed it. I keep saying Terrastal. Prismatic, the pull rates are terrible. Journey Together, the pull rates are good. Like they finally fixed it. It's great. This is a great set. But that lasted like very, very, that was a short positive sentiment. Then the next week and the next week, this set sucks. This set's terrible. Like you can pull everything that you want. People can always get their fix. And I'm just sitting there like, what happened? You know that Donald Glover meme from, I think it's from Parks and Recreation, where he walks in with the birthday cake and the house is on fire, the apartment's on fire? That's the feeling that I got then. Is like this market and people are so fickle that the smallest of things will get people talking about it on YouTube and they get other people to believe it in real life. And to the point where like Journey Together still is a good set. It's still sold relatively well. But if you ask people on YouTube, right, and in Discord communities, they're like, that set sucks. The pull rates are actually no one talks about the pull rates anymore. They just said the set sucks and the cards are not good. And so, you start to be able to identify these things and how ridiculous people are. And again, like a lot of it's not really rooted in like data or what's happening at the local game stores or what's happening on, what the sales data is saying. It's just what people react to online and say on the internet, in particular YouTube, right? So let's translate that into this crash topic. I don't believe most of the people who have made content on that topic are actually impacted. They're just kind of content farming the general trend, which is fine, which is fair. But like, there comes a point where you have to ask yourself as the consumer, is this what's actually going on? Or are people just amplifying something they heard and something that they heard and something that that person heard? You know, because at the end of the day, people on YouTube, including myself, including your favorite whoever, are not representative of the entire hobby. We all have our opinions. We are all representing a specific sector or specific slice of users. Like, we don't know everything. And you know, I'll remind people, the funniest example of this is with Anon TCG, when you know he has distributor access. He also has like access to some leadership at some of these companies that most people don't. Do y'all remember when he made that video about, what was it? Twilight was getting reprinted in Temporal, and he had that going for like 2 weeks, and everybody on the internet, in our, sorry, I shouldn't say everybody, in this general, you know, pseudo collector, pro investor community content sphere, roasted him. Remember that? And then it turns out, and he held his ground firm. Like, I'm telling you guys, wait, it's gonna come, it's gonna come, it's gonna come. And for about 2 weeks or 10 days there, he was like the laughing stock of the community. Yes, I said the C word. I kind of just like, oh yeah, maybe he knows something, because anyone with that information who has the balls to share it would not be lying. That was my reaction. It's like, hopefully he's right, but anyone with that information would not be lying, because like that would be, anyway. And then it turns out that he was right. You remember that? People will believe anything these days. But then the most important thing to do, figure out your goals, figure out how much money you have to play with, determine the strategies you want to do and deploy that money with, and just create your own quiet swim lane and observe what everyone else is doing. I do pray that there is a crash, and hopefully it's on Modern. Maybe it's on Destin Rivals. It's probably not on Destin Rivals. Maybe Destin Rivals retraces like 20%. It's not going to happen. I'm just, you know, playing around here, illustrating a picture, right? That would be fantastic, because I think about these things. We should think about these things 3, 5. You should at least think about your presence in the hobby for like many, many years to come. Not, if I buy it today, what can I sell for in 6 months? That is it's a hard game to play. I'm not going to say it's impossible. I'm not saying you're not going to be successful doing it, but it's a hard game to play, and it creates, it requires a lot of investment of time and brain space, and it requires a lot of bandwidth just to keep up with what everyone's doing. That, you know, most successful businesses that are in the win-win position, they're buying things at a percentage now, packs in particular if they're a streamer, and then if the market goes up, they benefit because they already bought it at a percentage of market. But they can also decide to invest or decide to sell that off at every step of the way, and they will always be winning in some way, shape, or form, because they bought at a percentage of market. Not many of us can do that, right? Not many of us can build the same business model and have this buffer of, if market doesn't do well, they're in good shape. If market does well, they're also in good shape. It's hard to do. Anyway, as I try to come full circle on this, occupying yourself, keeping busy, whether that's in real life, outside of the hobby, right? And you come in and you just dabble on the weekends, you spend time, you buy some cards, that's fine too. Or you're in the hobby, You build collection goals. You learn to sell. You learn to build up that set of capital so you can buy certain collections, buy certain cards, buy things that you want. That is at the utmost. That is the utmost important thing to do in order to get from here to 35th anniversary, which is in 6 years, to the 40th anniversary, which is in 11 years, and then on, and then on. I apologize. That is my phone mount readjusting. It's like this immunity suit of armor where you're just like, oh, cool. People are talking about this, so I'm going to continue to do what I've been doing on the side. And if I can share one thing, it would be just create your own swim lane. Just like do what you want to do. And if you spend time on the internet, spend it building something you enjoy. Now, if you like all this, if you like the chaos, someone's going to say, like, I like this. I enjoy being part of this. Sure, go for it. I enjoy making money. That's fun. I will do that. I enjoy making collections. Do that. But just occupy yourself so that you're not always looking at market price and investment news and don't let anything or anyone live rent free in your brain. That's the message at the end of the day. Okay, that's all I got. Have a great rest of your week. I will probably upload again later this week. And let me know your thoughts below. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.